Hello everyone, I'm very pleased to welcome you back to the Last Man Standing podcast for what is going to be a very special season. This is going to be season 2. That might seem very interesting because holy shit, how do you revive a podcast after almost a 2-year hiatus? It's a very interesting to me as well, but we're lucky to be in a very different setting, very different situation than what the circumstances were about 2 years ago. I think our last show was January of 2021. I'm not exactly sure of the date, but I believe it was around January of 2021. We had 11 episodes. Some of those episodes were double episodes, meaning we had a Saturday edition and an edition during the week, I assume. And I was still living in Bulgaria. Now things are very different, and I was still a high school student. Things are very different now. I'm now in my second year of international sport management studies in The Hague, in the Netherlands. So that's why you're probably seeing this video, because you saw the post that I had on Facebook, and after that on Instagram, if I've posted it after that. That it's going to be a Dutch flavored season, and that is indeed going to be the case. And we might have some interesting guests here in the Netherlands, because there are a lot more opportunities. And yeah, I said guests. I'm already spoiling things that I was going to say in this video. Anyway, let me first reintroduce the podcast. I thought that was going to be a proper way to welcome you guys back. As I've mentioned on originally, as I mentioned, it's a podcast that mostly focus on originally it was going to be the sports business, just the sports business and sport television. Because of popular demand and thanks to you guys, I decided to expand that, because I saw that the episodes where I talked about the trades that NFL teams were making, for example, those episodes were very popular, especially the one, episode 3, where I talked about the Vikings, but I also talked about other things, of course. And the second most watched episode, I also talked about the Saints. They beat the Packers 2 seasons ago, I think. So this is gonna be very important this season. But what is the cornerstone of this show? This is a show, as I mentioned, the show of the thinking sports follower. Why is that? That is because we have a database approach, a database analysis of the on-field action. That is our approach. There's not going to be a blabberish nonsense here. Very little about things the players played well because of emotion or because of stuff like that. No, we're trying to make factual analysis and come to factual conclusions, of course. And the same thing is going to be applied to everything that happens off the field, to whether it is television contracts or the business of sport or marketing, to some of my great passions. It's always going to be a factual approach, and everything is going to be justified with facts. Not that such shows don't exist at the moment. There's some great shows. There's some great media outlets that are dedicated to that. Fangraph's a personal favorite of mine, but a very big chunk of the mainstream is not trying to look at things from that perspective. They're trying to look at things from the emotional perspective and from the moral perspective and from things that are very subjective. Things that when they try to justify them, some people agree with them, other people don't agree with them, and it's all based on opinion. And such things are not really good for a discussion. Such things are not empirical. There is no evidence for them. They cannot be proven. We take a different approach here on this show. And that is all in the name of having a more entrepreneurial future of sports on all levels. Some people in the US, because I know that overwhelmingly the followers of this show are from the US, and I know that, but people from the US might not know that. But in Europe, how do I put this? Sports is not really. People in sports are not very active towards organizing sports, and are not very active towards reaping benefits from sporting activities, from sporting competitions. A very small majority does that, and this majority is entirely based on the high elite professional level. Other people rely on somebody else coming in and saving their asses. No, I'm not going to be sorry for what I said. They're trying to rely on other people, and they want other people to organize sports for them, and to manage sports for them. In other words, they have no entrepreneurial spirit. We're going to discuss this on this show a lot, but everything that I do is entirely in the name of a sporting future where people rely on themselves and on their talent to create opportunities for themselves, and the bottom line, increase the quality and the quantity in the world of sports in whatever department of sports, in whatever sport they do that, in whatever activity related to sports they do that. So that's with the introductory bureaucracy. Now, the real stuff, the real information about a podcast. First, the when and where. So when, every other Friday, means fortnightly, with a 2 weeks with a 2 weeks gap, every other Friday, and the episodes are going to drop at 10 o'clock Eastern time. That means for everybody from Texas who's watching this, because I know there are a lot of people from there who used to listen to this podcast, 9 a.m. Central Time, and also for Central Europe, 4 p.m., and for Eastern Europe, 5 p.m. I think I've covered most of my the market segments that are involved in my show, where I originally announced this was going to be only on Spotify, but it turns out that I managed to actually upload the podcast on Overcast and Google Podcasts. So everybody who listens to their podcasts on Spotify, Overcast, or Google Podcasts will be able to listen to this show. And yeah, to finish off this teaser, quite frankly, that's what it is. Some very special news about special episodes. I said that I mentioned guests earlier in this clip, in this teaser. There are going to be more guests than last season, because last season there weren't any guests. But we're going to do that right out of the door. Right out of the door. With our next not our next episode, because next episode is going to be the first episode in exactly 1 week, on December 19th. It's going to be the first episode, but the second and third shows, or specifically the second show, I don't know what the third show is going to turn out to be, because we might have to split the second show into 2 shows, but on December 24th, Christmas Eve, we're going to have a show with a special guest. Not a very famous guy, but a very knowledgeable person. This is going to be a tremendous episode. December 24th, a special Christmas edition, just 5 days after the first episode. This is going to be very special. We're going to be discussing the Green Bay Packers, always a very interesting topic. We're going to be discussing one of the, without any doubt, the best story in college football this year, Tulane, and also we're going to discuss college football in general, and we're going to discuss the PDC's growth to near the top of the hierarchy, or on a very respectful place in the UK sports hierarchy. This is going to be December 24th and possibly January the 1st. I don't know yet, because I'm going to tape that show tomorrow. If it's too long, it's going to be 2 shows, December 24th, January the 1st. If not, the special guest episode is going to be December 24th, and January the 1st is going to be a regular show with just me, myself, and I. And the next show after that is going to be, let me just check the date, January 13th. This is going to be the episode 4. So the next few episodes, let's summarize again. December 19th, December 24th, January the 1st, and January 13th. That is the schedule for now. And then bi-weekly or fortnightly, whatever you want to call it, on Fridays at the times that I mentioned, on the platforms that I mentioned. I think I said everything I had to say. I shouldn't make that video too long because it might turn out to be a standalone episode of its own. But I'm very thankful, guys, for everybody who used to listen for this podcast, and everybody who's going to be a newcomer listener to this show, newcomer follower. I'm gonna do everything to my power to give you guys a warm welcome and make you feel enlightened with knowledge from this show. But I'm thankful for every single listener, and yeah, thank you guys. This was a quick teaser, a quick information giver video, if you will, or because it's gonna be on Spotify, just episode 0, a pilot. Pilot is episode 1, but anyway. And I'm going to see you guys December 19th on all of the platforms where Last Man Standing podcast is published. For any changes, follow Last Man Standing podcast with Teodor Tsenov on Facebook, and also LMS podcast TT on Instagram to follow any updates. And yeah, see you guys on December 19th with episode 1 of season 2, the much upgraded season 2 of Last Man Standing podcast.